Section 1. All right, so you've got a SaaS product. People sign up, use it for a bit, and then, quietly, they leave. Churn, the silent killer of subscription businesses. Today, we're looking at ChurnGuard AI, a free open source tool that connects to your Stripe account, predicts which customers are about to bail, and then, and this is the part that actually surprised me, it drafts personalized outreach messages for each of those at-risk users using an LLM. Let's start with what this thing actually does in practice. You connect it to Stripe via API. The system pulls your subscription data, payment history, plan changes, failed charges, usage gaps, subscription age, all of it. It runs that data through a churn prediction model, which outputs a risk score for each customer. So far, that's pretty standard territory. Lots of tools do that. But here's where ChurnGuard does something different. Once it flags a customer as high risk, it doesn't just put them in a list and call it a day. It takes that customer's specific usage fingerprint. When did they last log in? Did they downgrade recently? Have they had billing issues? And feeds that context into a language model. The LLM then generates a draft retention message, tailored to that specific person's situation. Not a template, not a mail merge, an actual contextual draft. For example, a customer who downgraded 2 months ago and hasn't logged in for 3 weeks gets a different message than someone who had a failed payment last Tuesday. The first message might acknowledge that the product might feel overwhelming and offer a check-in call. The second one might be a gentle nudge about updating payment details with a direct link. That specificity is the actual value here. The project is open source, so you can inspect how the scoring model works, what features it uses, and how the prompts are structured. It's deployable on your own infrastructure, which matters if you're handling a customer data and don't want it going through a third-party SaaS dashboard. Section 2. Okay, let's be honest about what this does not do, because there's real nuance here. First, the churn prediction model is only as good as your Stripe data. If you have a product where usage doesn't leave a clear trail in Stripe, say a one-time payment tool or something with very irregular billing cycles, the model doesn't have much to work with. It's not pulling in your product's in-app events, your support ticket volume, your NPS scores. It's Stripe data. That's it. So if your churn signals live outside of billing behavior, this tool will miss them. Second, the LLM-generated messages are drafts, not finished copy. The README is actually clear about this. These are starting points. You should absolutely review them before sending. A language model doesn't know your brand voice, doesn't know the relationship your team has with a specific customer, and can occasionally produce something that's technically correct but tonally off. Human review is not optional here. Third, this tool does not send emails. It generates the messages, but the delivery pipeline, your email service provider, your CRM, your sequencing, that's on you to wire up. It's a content generation layer, not a full retention automation stack. Fourth, there's no built-in dashboard or UI out of the box. This is a developer tool. If you need a point-and-click interface, you'll need to build one or integrate it into something existing. That's not a flaw. It's a design choice, but it's worth knowing before you install it. And fifth, worth flagging, the model hasn't been validated across dozens of SaaS verticals. The accuracy of the risk scores will vary depending on your business model and how your customer behavior maps to billing events. You'll want to monitor false positives, especially if your team is doing outreach at scale. Section 3. So where could this realistically go from here? Let's talk plausible futures, no sci-fi. The most obvious evolution is expanding the data inputs. Right now, it's Stripe. The next logical step is connecting product analytics, Mixpanel, Amplitude, Post-Hog. So the churn model can factor in actual feature usage, not just billing signals. A customer who pays on time but never uses your core feature is a churn risk that Stripe alone won't catch. That integration would meaningfully improve prediction accuracy. Another realistic direction? Feedback loops. Right now, the system generates a message, and that's the end of the story. But what if you could log which interventions worked, which messages led to retained customers, and use that data to improve both the model and the prompt templates over time? That's a closed-loop learning system that's entirely within reach for an open-source project with an active contributor base. There's also like a natural fit here with platforms like DigitalOcean, where you'd self-host the whole stack. Right now, setting that up requires some manual configuration. A one-click deploy template or a Docker Compose setup that's fully documented would lower the barrier significantly and make this accessible to solo founders who don't have a DevOps background. Finally, multi-channel output. Right now it's message drafts, but the same logic could generate in-app messages, push notifications, or even talking points for a customer success call. The intervention logic is already there. It's really just a matter of rendering it in different formats. Section 4. So why does this exist? What's the actual problem it's solving? Churn prediction as a category has been dominated by expensive, opaque SaaS platforms. Tools like Gainsight, Tatango, Churn Zero, they're powerful, but they're priced for enterprise. A small SaaS with 300 customers and a two-person team isn't going to pay thousands of dollars a month for a customer success platform. So they either do nothing about churn, or they build something scrappy in a spreadsheet, or they rely on gut feeling. ChurnGuard is a response to that gap. It's saying the core logic here, predict risk, personalize outreach, doesn't need to be a black box enterprise product. It can be open, inspectable, and deployable by a developer in an afternoon. The LLM layer is important in that context too. Personalized outreach is effective, but it doesn't scale manually. A two-person team can't write custom emails for 50 at-risk customers every week. The AI drafting layer is the answer to that specific scaling problem. It's not about replacing human judgment. It's about making personalization feasible at small team scale. That's a real problem. And this is a real working attempt to solve it with tools that are now genuinely accessible. Open source ML, API-based LLMs, and a Stripe integration that any developer can set up in a few hours. Is it production ready out of the box for every use case? No. But it's a serious starting point, and the fact that it's open source means you can adapt it to your specific business model rather than fitting your business into someone else's product. That matters. Check the GitHub link in the description. It's worth exploring if you're running a SaaS and churn keeps you up at night.